Welcome to Hickory Street Podcast. This is Michael Zamora, and we are here with Cecillia.
Hi, guys. Thank you, Michael, for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's great to have another female artist on the podcast. We haven't... I had Daya on, and I made a mistake whenever I post. So sorry, Daya, if you're watching this. I know she's two. Yes, you are number two. I used to work with Daya for like 2 years or 3 years. I was at Fast Enough for like 3 years. So I worked with her for like 2 years, and it was kind of funny because I was like really shy, and whenever I worked with her, I had like played a show with her like twice and didn't like, I never went up to her and asked her if she was the same person. Like,
really?
Yeah, I was just like really nervous about it, and then she actually came up because she's extroverted, so like people are no problem for her, and she walked up and she's like, "You're in the Dells," and I was like, "Yeah, I was wondering."
So you worked kind of together, and then you had a performance together, and you didn't know it was the same person?
Well, I kind of knew, but I never like went up to her and asked her because I was nervous about asking. I know it seems silly, but yeah. So, well, thank you for coming. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your busy school schedule. I'm sure you're a student at UNT, correct?
Yeah, this is my senior year. Thank God. It's been like 5 years in the process.
Wow, congrats. Yeah.
So ready to be done. And yeah, juggling school, music, and then my job, Mm-hmm. I work at a music store.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit at Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Right? So, cool.
Sponsor us.
What is your major in college then? What are you going to school for?
It's called Integrative Studies, which is basically you make up your own major.
Yeah,
I call it bullshit studies. Because it's basically you just choose whatever concentration, and I chose English communications and music just because I thought, what's the closest thing to a songwriting degree I could do here? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's been interesting. I've taken some interesting classes, but yeah, just ready to finish out. Ready to finish, yeah.
Well, so music is like the secondary portion of your studies then, or is it?
Like major-wise?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it's divided evenly
between communications.
Yeah.
And so you're taking equal amount of classes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
My old friend of mine, Dylan, he was in integrative studies.
Yeah.
He graduated, and whenever he graduated, he was telling me that he was doing anthropology in music, and was wanting to use it in a way to sort of go into other parts of the world and try to understand the music of the culture and like how it sort of shaped their society. It was pretty interesting, what he wanted to use it for. And I think he's still on that path. He ended up moving out to California.
Oh, wow.
His dad's from California and lives there.
Is he the one that used to run Fanning?
Yeah, that's Dylan. Yeah.
Denton for you. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows each other.
So you know Dylan then? Huh?
I know him by name.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to go to the house shows he used to put on.
Cool.
So
that's funny. Maybe we were at the same show at some point or
probably.
something.
Do you know Azel?
Yeah, I know Azel.
I love Azel. Shout out to Azel. I love him. He was my first Denton friend. My first cool Denton friend.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I've known Azel for quite a while now. He was in that band Communist Children.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I used to go to his shows. Hey, Tyson, leave her alone.
Tyson wants love right now.
Yeah. I didn't put him in his cage, so he's wandering about and being social. But that's cool. I didn't realize you knew Azel too. So
yeah. It's Denton for sure. Part of the beauty of it, because I used to go to school in San Antonio first, and I was in a school there, and the arts weren't a big thing.
Right.
But the hunger for music was always there. Like, music was huge in my childhood, just listening to records my parents would play. But it wasn't until, like, my second year of college that I was like, I think I can do something with it. But being in San Antonio and not having the resources was really hard. This is a very, like, traditional school. So my brother, he actually graduated from UNT, and he was like, I think Denton is for you. Like, you would like it. People are very artsy, and you should just give it a try. And I didn't want to come to Denton for some reason. I wanted to get out of Texas. I thought he really wants love.
Yeah, it's okay, but so your brother graduated from Denton?
Yes,
then? And
yes.
he was trying to get out of Texas?
No, I was trying to get out of Texas. He was trying to convince me to come here.
Oh, okay.
Because I think he was aware of the music scene and
knew you were interested in that direction.
Yeah, exactly. But when I got here, you asked me if I believed in superstitions. I kind of do a little bit. Just believe in the way of the world. And it's funny because I wanted to leave Texas, but everything pointed to UNT. Like, I came to tour here and I really liked it, and I was like, you know what, maybe. And I got accepted like a week later after applying. Everything just worked out. And then, making my way through the music scene, it's been like a year and a half process.
You've been playing locally for a year and a half then, or?
I started playing gigs this summer, actually.
So, wow, very recent. Okay. Because
things started opening up, because this whole venture, can I call it a venture? Is
yeah,
that a good
you
word?
can call it a venture.
English is my second language, so bear with me sometimes. I started to go to house shows. House shows was the biggest thing to meet people. I met Azel, and he was the first person in Denton that we actually jammed. And, when I got here, I was like, okay, if this city is what people say it is, I'm going to find a producer. And very shady, but I got white paper and I wrote in Sharpie, looking for producer, contact me. And I just posted like in recycled books and all over the square.
Right. And
some people reached out. Michael Briggs reached out. And ultimately who would become my producer, Nathan Clark. Reached out.
I've heard that name quite a few times, actually. I know the bands that Nathan plays in, and Steven, the guy that was on the podcast last time, he talked about how he's known him for years and everything.
Yeah. He's in Dust Mothers, with Roger Johnson. Roger Johnson? Amazingly talented. But yeah, we did my first single with him. Great guy, amazing musician, amazing producer. And he usually doesn't do, that pop indie, the kind of sound I was looking for at the moment. He had a more Denton sound. But we did my first song, Cecillia, and it was great. And it was a moment where I was just like, yeah, this is it for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's so moving to Denton was the right choice for you then.
Oh, for sure. And my second semester here, that was spring of 2020. I started to meet more people, and boom, COVID hits.
So right as you were getting ready to get connected into the scene and everything,
everything stops. And I go home, not home. Home is Nicaragua, by the way. I go to Dallas, where my mom lives, and I quarantined there, nowhere near Denton, and it was just a period of writing songs and seeing how to remain productive during that time. I suppose it was the same for you.
Yeah, kind of. My COVID experience was kind of is strange. So the week I graduated college was like sort of at the height of COVID. I took like 2 years off of school and then decided to go back, and then the last semester of college, when everything shut down, I was already taking all online classes.
Yeah.
So whenever they closed the campus, it wasn't that big of a deal. But that last week that I graduated, I had a girlfriend I had been seeing who broke up with me, and then 2 days later, I watched a guy jump in front of a car trying to kill himself.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then 2 days after that, I graduated, and so
wow.
like the worst week of my life at the end of this like sort of accomplishment.
Wow.
So it was kind of strange. So during COVID, I really wasn't that productive. I spent a lot of time just kind of in therapy, trying to make sense of my life, and I got my priorities kind of shifted away from music, because I just sort of recognized that this wasn't the essence of my life, so to speak. And so, I mean, it's definitely a part of my life now, and I still enjoy music, but I feel like I have a different mindset whenever it comes to it. And I was productive through COVID, but like I lost like 200 song ideas during COVID, so I had to start from scratch. So it was a very like immediate push towards a new start for me somehow. So that was my COVID experience, and eventually I feel like things were able to kind of settle down so that I could be a little bit more creative, and I was eventually, but it didn't happen until I would say last summer, really, actually. So it was like around like February, really, I started to kind of play a little bit more and got some stuff going. And then in the spring, spring of last year, we actually recorded our album, which hasn't been released yet.
Release it.
I'm sorry, actually spring of this year we recorded our album. So like I wrote the album in like summer, so we've already set a release date,
cool.
but it wasn't until that summer that I started to actually pick things up again. But
it's interesting that you mentioned that you took that break where you got like mental health on check and everything, because prior to really throwing myself to music, I also went through a season that I needed therapy, and really, where should my focus and energy go? And it was critical for me. And I'm super open about mental health, and I've been super open about it in my music, and so it's interesting that you say that, because I completely relate. I think pauses are necessary in order to refocus, and you said that.
Right.
And I think that's super necessary. I feel super confident in what I'm doing, and I think in part was because I took that break.
Yeah, no, it definitely is essential. I realized a long time ago that my relationship to this idea of success was very unhealthy, so to speak. And I think more than anything, my drive, because I'm a very driven person, just in general. I take on a lot of different projects, and I manage my time in a way where I take on a lot of different things and try new things at the same time, And I realized that my relationship to that mindset was just sort of distracting me from all of this other stuff that I needed to take care of. And so for anybody that's thinking about going to therapy, I would say if you have to think about possibly going, you should just go. Because for me at least, it's unpacked like an entire. It's unpacked an entire layer of my personality that I had been sort of like, I never really understood, why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And I've been out of therapy now for like 6 months now. And I've had some like really good conversations with my family, and have gotten like a better handle on like understanding how the past and some of my childhood experiences are affecting the way that I am now in the present and how I see my future. And so I think that for anyone that doesn't have the resources for therapy, which it's kind of hard to say that because there's even online sources these days, Mm-hmm. But if you just don't actually have those kind of resources, I think that just going online and looking up videos of people who have gone to therapy will at least help you kind of get the self-actualization realizations that you need to at least get started on making whatever mental health step you need to make. But it's really important, and for a long time, you will probably realize that you were living with like a certain level of darkness that was not necessarily representative of your true self. And for artists in particular, I think that there's another layer of it that's kind of toxic, which is sort of the glorification of victimization and of the die young depressive mentality. And I noticed just sort of understanding how the physiological aspects of our brain work. Whenever you give that side of yourself positive reinforcement, and essentially you're kind of encouraging yourself to maintain. Bit me. Oh, he did. I'm so sorry.
I think he went slow.
He just kind of nibbles. But yeah, no, I just think that if you feed that sort of side of yourself with positive reinforcement, mm-hmm. it like forces you into this loop and this cycle, and I think people can stay there for too long.
Yeah, for sure. I think without therapy, I wouldn't be here. Period. It's just basically I went to therapy and psychiatrists and everything because I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and it's interesting how they decode your personality. And it's like, these are your traumas. This is how you can work on them. Because it's all about breaking cycles that are passed on your family, like my family and stuff like that. It's just breaking those cycles. And it's something that therapy showed me in my own journey is that you have to be the purest form of yourself. What do you genuinely want? And it sounds super poetic and almost cheesy, but whenever I got out of my therapy, I was like, okay, like I went through shit and it's gonna be shitty because life is life. But what will bring me joy in a way? And it was music and meeting people and having conversations about deep topics or just making music like community wise. It's besides therapy, that has been another therapy.
No, just sharing experiences, and people do that through music quite a bit. And I think that's another thing that people don't quite understand about musicians is that whatever you say in a song doesn't necessarily have to be like factually true. It can be, emotionally true at the moment or at the time. And so you listen to lyrics to songs, and part of like what I don't agree with whenever it comes to like outrage culture and just like cancel culture and stuff is that they'll take like a lyric out of a song and sort of spin it into context, and then spin it out of context, and then kind of whenever you like blow the thing back and you like look at what exactly was being said in the actual like person that wrote it, it's just like this strong disconnect, I think, with some people. It's almost like the same line of thinking with conspiracy theorists. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's some weird sense of like disillusionment where we forget that art is just, it's art, and it exists in a time and a place just like everything else. And so one of the things I'm using that as an example because recently I remember seeing an article or something about how there was this campaign to try and cancel Eminem for a lyric he did in a Rihanna song or something a while back, and I don't know, it's just there's a level of hysteria that I think comes with not understanding, you know, any kind of art form, whether it be comedy or, you know, music or shock art, you know, like just some sort of sculpture that's offensive or something, you know. So.
I feel he's just like
he just
Tyson, that's his name?
Yeah, Tyson.
He's just laying there in my shoulder.
He just likes to be pet. He does that to me all the time when he wants me to pet him.
Just like humans.
But.
Just like humans. It's interesting that you say that art is art and it reflects the person's experience. I'm actually taking a philosophy class, and talking about Buddhism and Taoism. And actually, one of the things I learned today is that the Buddha says that what you see as true depends on your experience. You know what I mean? Mm. So, cancel culture, for example, for Eminem, what he said came from his identity, from his experience, but another person saw it differently,
right?
You know.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that old saying, there's two sides to every coin, and
oh, for sure,
or, you know, nothing's black and white. It's like the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just something that we're all trying to siphon through, I think. And I don't necessarily know or quite understand like what direction or motivation it's headed towards, as far as just American society in general, really. But I think the level of anxiety and disillusionment that we're all experiencing right now is definitely not constructive towards developing any sense of stability. And so it's just something these are things that I think about quite a bit, because I think that it is inherently affecting people's sense of motivation, you know? Like, I think that that's another reason why, just as a statistical fact, rates of suicide and depression have gone up over 100% because of just the loss of, I don't know, the loss of motivation or I guess proper incentives towards anything that's rewarding. You know, there's a level of there's a level of come on, buddy. There's a level of like negative attitudes that is just encouraged now, which I think is not very helpful. So.
No, not at all. And I think it goes hand in hand with social media and what it promotes. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, but I think it's also important to highlight that mental health awareness has increased 1,000% than the last 10 years,
coincidentally with the prevalence of social media.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's because there's this like false sense of reality that we're all exposed to
100%.
on a continual basis. Yeah.
And it's interesting because when I was making music at first, I released a couple songs, but the intention behind it changed because it's so easy as a independent artist, or if you're just starting, to change your focus from making art to I want 10K listens.
Right.
I want the followers. I want everything. And that was my goal for a bit, just like likes, listens.
Right.
And at a point, I didn't want to make any more music because
it became about the attention and not the music.
Product. It became a product. Because in social media, everything is a product. Mm-hmm. They sell you the looks. They sell you the likes. You can buy likes, literally.
Yeah, you can. And there's a lot of people that do.
Yeah.
And there's an entire industry created around social media marketing. Yeah. Because it's so successful. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people get ripped off and get sucked into the rabbit hole of trying to just focusing on the wrong things.
100%.
Whenever it comes to music and promotion.
Buddy.
Hey, stop. He knows.
He wants to be part of the podcast. Yeah, it was really hard. I released a song about a year ago, and it under my terms, it wasn't as successful as my first couple songs. And I remember talking to my mom, and I was like, "This is it. Just because my intention was different. It was the goal was, the reward or the affirmation from other people. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense.
But I was like,
it's like that weird sense of like validation, like I'm doing something important or good here,
Exactly. But then my mom, very wise mom I have, she said something along the lines of, it's gonna be good and bad. Like, it's like the stock market. You'll do good sometimes, you'll do shitty sometimes. But then I decided to change my thesis statement and make it more like, instead of worrying so much about the release, worry about the craft. When I finish a song, when Nathan or whichever producer hands me the final copy, the final master, I've already won. That's what has driven me the last year.
That's great. That's the way it should be. See, for me, it was, I got wrapped up at the time. It was whenever Facebook was doing Facebook ads, and they were like really promoting that to people that had band accounts and such. Mm-hmm. So I got sucked into that and ended up like spending like, I don't know, upwards of like $1,000 trying to figure out how to promote it over the course of like 2 years or 3 years, and then I just found out it wasn't really that helpful. And so whenever I started to approach music again after having like a good 2-3 year hiatus of not focusing on my own music and doing another band, when I came back to it, I kind of made an ethic of it. Just, we're not going to pay for any kind of promotions. I don't mind paying artists to do stuff for, you know, like creation wise, whether it be a photographer or getting someone to actually design some kind of artwork. And I think that's the proper way to go about it, because you kind of get caught up in the noise of everything else, and you realize that you're not even happy doing it anymore, you know? And you really do have to kind of say, you know what? Screw everybody else. I don't care what anybody thinks about what I'm doing in regards to this thing that I'm trying to achieve. And, you know, if you're on board, great. If you're not, I'm going to do it. You just got to have that confidence and just not worry about the person. This is like the hypothetical person in the back of the room that's, you know, ignoring you and they're just on their phone. Like, you kind of just have to not worry about that.
Yeah, it's social media has completely changed the way music is consumed and the goal of music. I feel I had to completely separate my music from social media and likes and listens in order to keep doing it. And I returned to a more like traditional model, and that's why I'm gigging. That's why I'm meeting people, networking, trying to find more organic ways to get people to know me, you know. And I think it's working, and slowly but surely, and you know, it's been good in that sense.
That's great. You should always strive for the experience above all else.
No, homie. Sorry, homie.
Yeah, you should always strive for the experience above all else, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Tyson, please stop. See, this is why I don't let you. No, go. Come here. This is why I usually put him in his cage. I usually put his cage upstairs.
It's okay.
Lock him in his room. But yeah, that's one reason why.
No, bro. He's just staring at me in the eyes. Yeah. Are we cropping this part?
Unfortunately, probably not, because it's too much. I'll try to, but as much as I can.
It's okay. It's authentic. It's authentic.
It's authentic. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
It's okay, dude.
He's just a very social pup. He's kind of young. He's only like 2 years old. So. Yeah.
Is he a rescue?
He is. Yeah. I got him from the Denton Animal Shelter. Like the second or third week of May after I graduated.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I follow the Denton Animal Shelter on Instagram, and I look at cute puppies all day, and it's so tempting, but I can't right now. Can't afford it, but...
Yeah. So I was actually going to ask you a little bit about your kind of personal family history, because you mentioned you're from Nicaragua, and so I wanted to know, are you a first generation American, or did your parents move here?
So actually, I was born and raised in Nicaragua.
Okay.
Went to high school there, graduated, and then came to the U.S. for university. So I went to an American school in Nicaragua. It's a very poor country, but I was very, very blessed to be able to go to an American school, where the goal is to take you to university here in the U.S.
Wow, so it was almost like a prep school for college.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly. And yeah, it was just Texas was the goal, because I had a lot of family here. People that left Nicaragua for X or Y reason, family members. And I've been in Texas since 2017 and still here. Still here, but Nicaraguan father and Ecuadorian mom.
Wow.
But born and raised in Nicaragua, yeah.
So whenever you were in school in Nicaragua, were you learning English?
Yes,
you were learning English there then? Okay. Because you speak it very well, so whenever
I have a little accent, but...
Well, because whenever you say you moved here in 2017, I was like sort of surprised, and then I thought to myself, well, if she learned it in school, that would make sense, so...
Yeah. We actually had the curriculum of a California public school, so all of my classes were in English, except like Spanish and PE.
Right.
But yeah, since kindergarten. So English every day, history, English, history. Did I say history already?
That's awesome. Yeah, you said whenever you mentioned history, I actually graduated from UNT with a degree in history, so that's what my major was. So I was very focused in that. I really enjoyed studying it, and that's really the only reason why I went to school for it. I got pressure from other people. Don't do history. You're not going to be able to find a job. Blah blah blah. But it's not about that. It's about just learning and actually applying your knowledge in some useful way. And I feel like it helped me see things, like see the present from a different perspective, which is just, you can't take that, you know what I mean? Like it's just sort of invaluable for me personally. But
we were talking about that. It's all about the experience. And remember, like you said, not giving an F about what people think, because it's your experience, it's your truth.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. So well, cool. So whenever you moved here, your brother had already moved here then, so was he in the same school as you in Nicaragua then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually, I have 4 siblings.
Okay.
And they all went to American school as well. And they just all came to the U.S. To study, and I was the last one because I'm the baby of the family. So we just, like, every year one would go.
Wow. So how many siblings again?
We're 5 in total.
5 in total.
Yeah.
And each sibling came to America for school. Wow. That's awesome. So your oldest is how much older than you?
She's 15 years older than me.
Oh my gosh.
So my parents started having kids really early, then took a gap, and then had my older brother and me, like, at the very end.
Wow. So do your parents still live in Nicaragua then, or?
My mom lives in Dallas now.
Okay.
She had to move because of political turmoil in Nicaragua in 2018.
I do sort of remember a lot of the civil unrest that was happening in like the middle North American, South American continent part. So okay. That was a really big, like, international issue for a while, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah, Nicaragua, beautiful country, beautiful people, but yeah, it's been hard the last couple of years, and a lot of family has moved to the U.S. because of it. So haven't been there in 4 years since I left almost.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
Yeah.
Do you miss home?
I do a lot. But at the same way, my journey to the U.S. has made me who I am, and the growth I've had musically and personally, I don't think I would have had that in Nicaragua.
Yeah, I have a coworker of mine who moved here from Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
And, just never really even living anywhere outside of Texas. I can't imagine the amount of courage it would take to leave your entire country and leave not only some of your family members, but just an entire culture that you've been familiar with and understand for so long. I don't think people truly appreciate what it is that other people go through when making a decision like that. So I think it's really cool that you were able to kind of prepare for it, going to that school there and having some of your siblings do the same thing. But nonetheless, it's a very individual thing that you have to
He's using his paw now. You're great. You're very cute. I'm not trying to do an interview here, man. But yeah, it was very hard experience, but I had the support of my family, and thank God I met great people in the way, and I think that the transition
I'm listening.
At first, being in San Antonio for a little bit and then transferring to Denton, just, I don't know, the whole process, it was hard, but I'm comfortable where I am today.
Right.
Here.
I actually have quite a bit of family in San Antonio.
Oh,
myself.
really? Great town.
Yeah, I love San Antonio. I've been there several times throughout my life. But I honestly, I get what you're saying whenever it comes to the schools there and just not being very, or just being very traditional. You know, like I totally understand where that sort of assessment came from. But you know, it's a very great area to just see and experience. It's got some really cool history stuff as far as Texas is concerned. I don't know if you're familiar, but San Antonio is actually it wasn't called San Antonio at the time, but it was actually like the first successfully settled area in Texas.
Interesting.
It was called something else. I can't remember. It's been so long ago. I read this like 700-page Texas history book a while back. It was like 2 years ago.
Is this the history major talking?
Yeah, it's just so many dates and names and stuff. Yeah. It just kind of all goes out the window. But yeah, that's. I think it was San Brazos or something. But anyways, yeah, so there's some very cool roots for Texas history in San Antonio, and lots of different stuff occurred there. Oh, yeah,
for sure. It was a great introduction to the U.S., I feel. To Texas, maybe. Being in San Antonio first, the Latino community is very big there.
Mm-hmm.
And,
definitely.
And the school I went to, the Latino community was super, super big, and it made the transition a bit easier because
you're able to kind of connect with other students from similar cultures.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of Nicaraguans actually went to the school I went to.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was smoother than I think if I would have gone to like Indiana or something like that. You know?
Right. Yeah, somewhere Midwest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't meet many people from Nicaragua, if I'm being honest. So it's not a very like even in Texas, like it's not a very common region that you meet people as far as from like Latin American countries, and like I've met quite a few Puerto Ricans and Brazilians. Funny enough, I actually had a teacher in high school who was from Brazil. She was an algebra teacher, very smart. But yeah, it was, you know, especially in Texas, the just Latin culture, it thrives here because Texas was Mexico for a very long time, you know. So, and I myself am half Mexican.
Oh.
So it's always like nice to kind of reconnect to that side of myself, just because being Americanized, I feel like it gets
Spanish?
diluted. I speak a little bit.
Poquito.
Poquito. Yes, I do speak a little bit. I understand it a lot better than I feel comfortable speaking it.
Okay.
So at work, we work with a lot of Latin, Latino workers, and so whenever they tell me to do something or they ask me something, I'm usually like the person that can help translate, you know?
Yeah.
So
you gotta understand my songs then. Give them a listen and tell me what you think.
All right. I will definitely, I might have to look up a few different lyrics. And let's talk about some of your songs. So how many singles have you released so far? 5
in total. And,
okay.
All in Spanish. I've incorporated a bit of English in my last song that I did with Nathan. It's called Por Qué. Go to my Spotify. And then working on an EP release this November. Very excited. It's gonna be a 3-song EP.
Cool. Cool.
Like a tribute to like Latin sounds. I feel.
All right.
And it's very different to what I've done, but I think it's gonna be so cool, and it's ready to go. We just have to wait a couple months, but have a band set up for the release in November and having a release show. But it's super cool, like salsa sounds and Latin American reggae and ska even. It's really cool.
That's awesome. So whenever you record, do you have a band play with you on the recordings, or do you play other instruments too?
So with the first 5 singles, it's been with Nathan, and Nathan, I do voice and guitar, but then Nathan, like, he's an amazing multi-instrumentalist, and he plays the drums and the keys, and but with this EP, I'm working with Colombian Producers. So it was I recorded vocals here with Nathan, and that was sent to Colombia. And in Colombia, that was a full band that they set up, and it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So they were able to do some recordings from a different region.
Yeah, it's amazing. Through a family friend, a friend of my sister's. He knew about the music industry, and when my sister saw that I was interested in it, she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put you in contact with him," and he was like, "I'm gonna put you in touch with Colombian producers I know, and they will love your music, and they will want to work with you." And yeah, that was it. We introduced ourselves, and I showed them some demos, and they were like, "Let's do it." And then, of course, there was money to pay. So I did a GoFundMe, and
you raised the money to do it?
I raised the money to pay it in like 2 weeks. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
I'm superstitious. Really, it was meant to be. It was meant to be.
That's great. So you have Porque out. What are the other song titles?
So I first have Enciclopedias. It means encyclopedias. Song about my dad. Super emotional song for me, but really beautiful and happy in a way. The most popular song I have, like, listens wise. Not that it matters, but I think the one that resonated the most with people. I have one called Será. I have one called Migrante, which comes from the word to migrate.
To migrate?
Yeah. So it's actually about leaving Nicaragua, and it's also people from Nicaragua really, really like that song, and very emotional song in that way. And I've released a couple other songs, but check the link below to see my discography and on Spotify.
Awesome. And do you have a title for the EP you're going to be releasing?
Yes, it's called Fruta Tropical, which means tropical fruit, because again, it's like a tribute to Latin sounds and the tropics, and I'm
that
pumped.
Sounds like it's gonna be fun.
Dude, it's pumped. I'm pumped. I hope you can make it to the release show. It's gonna be November 5th.
November 5th.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'll let you know.
Cool. Do you have any acts lined up? Because I was actually talking to a friend of mine, and I think I know someone who might be opening for you. But I'm curious. Yeah.
I would love an opening act. That would be so cool.
Oh, have you not booked an opening act for this yet?
For what I have booked is only us, but it would be cool. I know one of my bandmates is talking to someone who might open, but I would be super open. Like,
okay. So
after we record, you can tell me.
Oh, okay.
A little more.
Cool. Yeah, I'll let you know. I don't know if they would be able to do it for sure or not. They told me that they saw that I posted about you being on the podcast, and they're like, I think I'm opening for them in November. And I was like, really? And I was like,
oh.
So, yeah.
Then maybe, is it a girl?
Yes.
Then I'm sure it's the same person.
Okay.
This is super Denton. Oh my god.
Her name is Tara?
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
She plays the ukulele or something?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Who's the band member that was gonna try and book it for you? Who's it?
Can I mention his name?
Yeah.
Blake. You know Blake? He works.
Blake at Guitar Center?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, this is so funny. So, Clint, our bass player in my band, plays in a band with Blake.
Oh my god.
So.
This is so Denton. Like, Denton is so small, yeah.
Yeah. And Clint and Tara went to high school together. So, everybody knows each other.
It's all, oh my god.
That's so funny.
But yeah, Blake plays guitar. Amazing guitarist. Amazing in my band. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool.
So he's been on recordings and stuff?
Not yet, but that's the plan. Because this is a recent development for the release shows and more shows.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But it's so cool to see, 5 American guys being super excited about Latin tracks. So, super thankful for, with them, because they're, veterans at music, and, it's really cool.
Well, I think most people around here in general, especially just, musicians, we enjoy all types of music.
Yes.
And, my grandfather gave me this old, he said it was his favorite CD from his favorite Mexican artist, and I still listen to it every now and then.
Who is it?
I couldn't say the name if I told. I don't listen to it very often, but I do listen to it, and it's just it's just kind of like that nice connection I have to my grandfather.
Oh, that's beautiful. I bet it's Agustin Lara. I don't know why I think it's gonna be him. Probably.
It might be.
Let me know.
It might be. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Let me know.
Well, is there anything else you want to add before we close this off?
Well, listen to my music. Thank you for having me. This was a lovely evening. And yeah, this is not the last time I'll be here. I want to show you my music when it's released, that EP, and thank you.
Of course. Yeah, thank you. All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye, guys.